I'm going to create that ask, because if you don't create that ask in life, what will ever come?
Nothing. Yeah. And the Bible says you have not because you ask not. Your words create the opportunity. It's not luck. It's not happenstance. It's based on what you choose to say in every single moment. One of the best elements of communication is knowing when to shut the hell up.
Everything that's happening is happening for you.
Right.
Not to you.
So number one, the point is brevity. If you can say something in a few words, don't add in the extra filler. Don't say at the end, does that make sense?
You teach people to control the frame of a conversation. For someone who has no idea what that means, explain it like I'm 12.
Give the person the next logical step. But how do you know which step to give them?
Welcome to another episode of the Gynergy Effect podcast. Today, we're bringing it for you. We're bringing you our incredible friend, Kody G, over here.
Let's go.
And he's going to take us through a journey because he teaches people how to walk into a room and own it, how to speak with authority, read people in real time, and close without gimmicks or pressure. Kody is a communication and identity coach trained in NLP, persuasion, and sales psychology. And the people who work with him say it rewires how they show up in every conversation, every pitch, and every relationship. But here's what caught my attention. When I asked Kody to share a personal transformation story on our intake form, he left it blank. The man who teaches the world how to communicate didn't share his own story. And I think that's the most fascinating thing about him, because in my experience, the people who master communication at this level are driven by something larger than technique. So today we're going to find out what's behind the frame, what built the mastery, and what happens when communication expert becomes the one being asked the questions that doesn't have rehearsed answers.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Kody
intro.
G, welcome to the Gynergy Effect.
Happy to be here, man. What an intro. That is the most interesting introduction I've ever received. So let's take this thing off, man.
That's it, baby. We don't do anything halfway. We're very intentional here at the Gynergy Effect.
Right.
And I love that, bro. I'm excited to have you on here. Since the moment I met you out at pickleball and us connecting and talking and being introduced together, I've been like gravitated towards you.
Yeah, I received that.
Because you have an incredible energy, and you do have I can tell that the way that you communicate is intentional.
Yeah.
I love being around people that feed into other people that are leaders. And I see that within you.
I received that.
And so definitely grateful to be. We were just talking about some cool stuff. You just met Jocko before you got here.
Yeah, what a random Wednesday.
Right.
Meet Jocko in downtown San Diego, looking at your beautiful view you have here.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Yeah, and then he was telling me he got Jocko's number. He was telling him he's going on the Gynergy Effect. Jocko's like, I want to go on that. Yeah. So we're going to be connecting, but nope.
I had to fight him off. He wanted to take my spot today, and that was my spot.
He said, no, he fought him off pretty good too. No, it's amazing because what we're talking about is iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And one thing that I appreciated, I was like, man, I had a personal story of someone I looked up to, and that was Ray Lewis. Yeah. And I met him at the cigar lounge. And he walked in, and I went up to him, I was talking to him, and had a real deep conversation with him. But I was talking about I had two opportunities. One, take the road like everybody does and ask for a photo with him. Or two, connect with him in a deeper way and open the door to build a relationship and ask, like, use my communication to ask for that and get his phone number and connect with him. And it reminded me of when we talked, because I asked you your experience of what you had, and what was our conversation?
First time or right now?
Right now, yeah.
Right now. Yeah, I just got a video of me drinking the drink. That's it. He put a drink in front of me, said, you got to try this one out. I said, cool, I'll let you know how it is, and started recording. So didn't make a connection, didn't grab a number, didn't lead it to anywhere else that it could have been. Yeah,
so it was a great, just I think, the learning experience right there of that iron sharpens iron, because I called myself out on that. I told myself a commitment. I was like, hey, I'm gonna lead with deep, open, vulnerable conversations to all people, but especially the people that I admire in life, and see where that takes me. And if I desire to connect with them, I'm gonna create that ask, because if you don't create that ask in life, what will ever come?
Nothing. Yeah, and the Bible says you have not because you ask not. And it's the power of your words. And one of my favorite scriptures, it's Proverbs 18:21, that death and life are in the power of the tongue. And I don't know how much more extreme you can get than death and life. And it's talking about the power of your words. And I was teaching yesterday about 27 entrepreneurs, the power of using your words intentionally. And just to dive into communication, there's three parts: your body language, your physiology, which if I'm sitting like this, it could be because I'm cold. It could be comfortable. It could be because I'm nervous. You could take it as me being closed off. There's so much that your body language is saying, your tone, how you say it, and obviously your words. But going back to the communication aspect, your tongue is like a rudder. And if you think about it, a little dinghy or a huge yacht, it has a small rudder on the back. The rudder's 1/10 of the size of the ship, but it controls the direction, and your language controls the direction in which you head. Like that conversation just now at Vitamin Shop, if I would have chosen to say, hey, let's connect, I'd love to be on a podcast together, he could have said, absolutely, I'm trying to promote this new protein powder, I'd love to, and that could be a connection. Or whatever it is that you desire, but your words create the opportunity. It's not luck, it's not happenstance, it's based on what you choose to say in every single moment.
That's so powerful. Our intention of our words, and the way that we even speak to ourselves. Very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So the communication, Kody, you teach people how to communicate with authority. You train them to own a room, control a conversation, read people in real time. And when I asked you to share your personal transformation story on the intake form, you left it blank. The communication expert didn't communicate. What's behind that?
Yeah, so the honest answer, I was in Encinitas outside of a hot Pilates studio that my girlfriend was in, and I was in my vehicle and she just got out. So I was rushing through that form. I realized I didn't do it. We talked a little bit about that the first time we met on a phone call, when I shared how I was a very shy kid growing up. And so my desire to teach communication didn't come from a God-given talent or skill. It was because I was so insecure. I had so much unworthiness and I lacked the ability to believe that I was even worthy of talking to people. And I would go into a grocery store, wherever I would be at, I wouldn't even look the cashier in the eye because I was so afraid. I was running, like you just said, that conversation in your head. What if I mess up? What if I stutter? What if I fumble? And every time I would do it because I was already setting that intention on what was going to happen. And our words are an overflow of what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And so if you're in an environment where you're extremely nervous, your body language is going to show that, your words are going to say that, and you're going to mess up. And it's like right now, if you were talking to Yessie or your best friend, you're not going to stutter, you're not going to fumble, you're not going to second guess what you say. You're just chilling. Oh, what's up, man? How are you? But now some people go on a podcast like this, some people go onto a stage and they fumble, they mess up. So it goes to show you it's not the communication, it's the internal beliefs that are going on in here that are dictating that lack of communication. And so for me, to answer your question, dude, my personal transformation story was when I was 19 years old and I realized I had no opportunity in my life, not because the world wasn't giving it to me, I was not able to capitalize on it. And I learned very early on that my ability to communicate, which was keeping me stuck, if I switched that, I would be able to get unstuck from it.
If you're able to switch your ability to communicate, you'd be able to get unstuck from the situation that you were in.
Yeah.
And now what sounds like is really one of your superpowers, which is the tongue, which is communication.
Yeah.
Started and is that way now because of the adversity and the self-doubt
For sure.
that you had before.
Yeah.
And that's one of the questions I asked, and it reminds me of like every great person that I've spoke with or connected with or read about. And I remember like Jim Quick, he does about memory.
Yeah.
And he had a brain injury and he had to teach himself, so it was like this intention that was set.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is the best people at a specific skill set,
Yeah.
they were the worst at one point. But because they put so much intention around it, that's what created that shift. So if you want to talk about your journey as far as where that was and what started that journey for you to be so intentional about it, how do you begin that to develop that skill?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think so often we want to be seen for what we're good at. It's our highlight reel on social media. And a lot of times when you realize that when you can actually share your scars with other people and share what you've been through and who you were, that's so much more inspiring than you just sharing how good you are. No one wants to hear about that. And for me, having such a lack of self-confidence and not being able to communicate and growing up in a home where communication was non-existent. And I remember there was a big turning point in my life where when there was an issue with my mother there would just be no apology, no sorry. We'd be yelling at each other back and forth. And then an hour later, hey, what do you want for dinner? And we would talk like nothing ever happened. And I didn't think much of it. But now, fast forward a few years later, I'm in a relationship. And my girlfriend at the time tells me, hey, you know, when we fight, you act just like your mother. And that was a wound. That was a knife that cut into a wound very deep, because I recognized that the same pattern that she would do, I would do. When there was an issue with my girlfriend, I would shut down, walk away, not want to talk about it. And an hour later, okay, whatever, you're over it. It's just what you do. You're just over it. So you don't need to stay and harp on that idea. And so I had to start learning to rework my identity and my beliefs that were keeping me stuck. And with a lot of that came pain, it came struggle, and it came looking at it from every angle of how I was showing up. And we started this podcast saying a lot of times people don't want to work in the shadows because of really how it feels. It's not comfortable. It's very easy to say, I'm great at this, I'm great at that. But to be like, hey, Garin, you know what, bro? I love you, but you're actually dropping the ball here. Or, hey, Kody, you know what? You need to spend some time in this area because this is a pattern I'm seeing that's going to now turn into your identity. And I'm fascinated with beliefs, behaviors, and patterns that turn into people's identity because we don't see it. They're like subconscious things that are running behind the surface. And if you were to think about your brain in two segments, you have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like 99% of what makes up your brain. So that's just when I drove down here, I'm not thinking about putting the car into gear and driving and did I hit this red light? You're just happy these things are happening. So all of our triggers, our behaviors, the way that we show up in everyday life is not being controlled based on thought. It's being controlled just based on pattern of what was. And so now I help people rewire what was into what can be.
Yeah, it's amazing how pattern recognition can be one of the biggest indicators of our success.
Yeah.
Once we're able to identify the patterns within us and then rewire that if it's not serving us, right? So we see it and we identify it and then we shift it.
Yeah.
Or patterns outside of us, like economic patterns, just like social patterns, all that different aspects of it. Like talk about how do you identify, like how do you become, like some people intuitively see that, or maybe they have intention in seeing that, but how does that become something that you really lean into and understand?
Good question. Honestly, language. Words are locators. Your words tell me exactly where you're at. And in the Bible, it talks about this as well, that what the mouth speaks is an overflow of what the heart feels. And there's some version of that, but your words locate what your heart posture is. I've trained over 3,000 people in sales. And one of the biggest things I teach people, actually listen to the words that people are saying without any preconceived idea of what you're going to say next. And so often in sales, people are reading a script or they're ready for the objection so they can overcome it. But in that conversation, you're missing what that person is actually saying. So when I'm teaching people communication, the first step is being a great listener. Being a great listener, because if everything that we're talking about on this podcast is, let's say it's money or it's cars or it's watches, and I start talking about ministry or passion or whatever, there's going to be a disconnect. You're not going to want to talk about that. So you can hear what someone's saying, what their language is showing you, and then that's what they value. That's what their drivers are. So now when you're in an interaction with someone, let their words dictate where you're going to have the conversation go. You're always going to get further talking about what someone else wants to discuss than what you want to discuss. So that's the patterns. What does their language tell you?
So what does their language tell you? Being a better listener.
Yeah.
Not having a preconceived response.
Right.
And then taking the how do you then guide the conversation where you desire it to go?
Yeah, very good question. And this is something we started by saying, like, dude, you didn't ask me any of the questions. When I met Jocko, he's like, oh, what are you guys talking about? I said, I have no idea. And I really didn't. But I'm present in this conversation. And so whatever you say is where I'm going to actually answer. I don't care to need to have an answer to sound smart or intelligent or like I know it all. I'm going to answer based on what I think to your question. And so it's a level of just groundedness, presence. And I think a lot of it too is fear of man. When we're so afraid of how we look or how we show up, we are going to mess up or we're going to not be present. I'm not listening to you. I'm so focused on how do I look? What am I going to say next? How do I have a smart response to that? When dude, it's like, you don't have to do that. Be real. You're going to resonate with the right people. And based on what that person tells you, clear your entire mind to be able to listen. And then you're going to know where to take it. Because if I'm focused on me, I can't answer your question adequately. It's not going to answer at the deep level. And it's almost like in sales too, where if it's like, oh, you know what, Kody, let me think about it. And I'm looking at my script. Oh, great. Do you need to think about if you can afford it or if you need this? And you're going to miss what that person is actually feeling. because their tone is going to tell you so much more than their words do. And we can go on about this for hours. So I'll land the plane there just to answer your question.
We can go on about that for hours because all of this is really important, key information.
It is. Yeah.
You know, there's one thing to be present, and I agree. That's a big part of what my teaching is around presence and being in the moment. And, you know, because fear happens when we're living in the future or in the past a lot of times, and anxiety happens when we're living in the future. And being present in the moment is one thing that's really impactful. Also, there's a lot of work to develop yourself to be able to be a natural conversationalist and have the substance to be able to talk and curate a conversation in a way that is curious or that, you know, drives some of the outcomes that, if we're talking about sales, that drives sales, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so maybe it's not that you're selling or that you're responding or waiting to respond, you're present.
Yeah.
But how do you develop the skill set? Because that's a real skill set.
It is, yeah.
To be present and then understand how to navigate the conversation in a way that drives outcome.
I think number one is the intentionality that it's possible. So much of our life is based on our belief of, is it possible or not? And it's similar to that 5-minute mile. Everyone's probably heard the story. The second someone knew it was possible, like
Everybody
10 other people started doing it.
Yeah.
And so if you know what's possible or what is available to you, you're a lot more likely to be present in that idea. So if I know, hey, you want to be able to active listen more, just that thought alone is going to help me do it if you're intentional with it. Another thing that I do, especially when I'm on a sales call, is I have a pen and paper nearby. Or anytime I'm doing like a live intervention with someone, I have a pen and paper and I'm writing stuff down. Because again, your words, your language is everything. You are going to tell me what's important to you. And so when you're actively listening to someone, you're not just listening to what they tell you, but what is driving that language. Because it could be based on they want to be significant. There could be fear driving it. There could be hurt driving it. There could be a little bit of guilt driving it based on how their body language is showing you. There could be excitement that you want to pull more out of. And so it's really just knowing that you can be present when you no longer make it about you and you make it about that person. Because if I don't care what you're going to ask and I truly just care, I want to get my spiel out, I'm not going to be present enough. Then I'm focused on a technique or a tactic versus just being. And some of the best salespeople, some of the best communicators, they don't use tactics. And so when I teach people in sales, I'm not going over how to overcome this objection or how to do this thing that's going to make you sound good. It's, dude, how to have a conversation like a human. And it's the soft skills that I think the world is missing, especially nowadays with the rise of AI. People are missing the ability to truly connect and communicate. And when you learn how to communicate effectively, as you know, being in a relationship, it develops your relationship to a deep, intimate level. It dictates the money that you make if you're in sales, which we all are in some capacity, and it determines your quality of life. So I think Tony Robbins says this, the quality of your communication determines the quality of your life. And I truly believe that, not just because it's something, again, that I was good at. I was so bad at it. I had to look at it from every single angle and fumble through it for so many years to the point where I'm like, dude, this is a skill that everyone needs to know. So for me to be able to teach people this and make money, that's the biggest blessing in the world, because I truly believe the world needs it. The world doesn't need more salespeople or more sales coaches, but I believe that God put me here so I can help people overcome those same things that I struggled with to become the person that they were designed to be.
So being a great communicator opens up what?
Everything. Everything. First thought is doors, but even doors, what do doors lead to? It leads to everything. That conversation with Jocko. If you're having an issue with Yessie, it's very easy to not say anything or just to be distant because you don't know how to approach it. Maybe you don't know how to say sorry. Maybe you don't know how to say, hey, there's something wrong. What's going on here? And she says, nothing, I'm fine. And now your thought, oh man, see, I try and it gets me nowhere.
Well, let's role play.
Yeah, sure.
Let's role play.
I love
so
it. Yeah.
I'm Yessie.
Yeah.
You're me. You're stubborn and, bullheaded and
Bald-headed? Okay.
Bald-headed.
Let's go.
No, bullheaded, but so I'm Yessie and, I'm upset.
Yeah.
I'm upset because I don't really feel like you're present with me.
Yeah. Got it. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is like a love language. When you say present, is your love language physical touch? Maybe it's words of affirmation. And if you're telling me I don't feel like you're present, and I know your love language is physical touch, I'm going to get closer to you. But if it's words of affirmation, I'm going to talk through that. Communication is the same way. there are many different listening styles, learning styles, communication styles. So I'm going to ask you, so when you say that, Garin, or when you say that, Yessi, what do you mean by that exactly?
I mean, you're just always busy, and I don't feel like you have time. Like you're not. I don't feel like you're prioritizing for me.
Yeah, and that makes you feel kind of like left behind or to the side.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like if I really feel like I'm valued.
Yeah, I understand. Well, number one, you are extremely valued in my life. That's why we're here. That's why I'm doing all this stuff so that we can build a life together. But I also understand how it could make you feel like that you're put off to the side with my lack of presence. So if there was a way where I can show you more presence, like what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I mean, we have our set time, and when it's our set time together, that's our set time. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, your laptop is just you're working, you're doing that, but you know, now I don't like your laptop.
Yeah,
because it's like I should be your laptop.
Yeah, you want to be on the lap. I get it. So okay, so here's what I'm gonna do because you matter to me so much, and I don't want you to feel like that. That hurts my heart actually to know that you do feel like you're left behind because that's not my intention. But again, I can see how my action is gonna lead you to feel that way. So when we have our alone time Thursday from 6 to 8, my phone is gonna be in the other room. I'm not gonna be on my laptop, and if I do, you have full permission to call me out. That's my commitment to you.
You say that, but how do I know that that's actually like it's actually gonna follow through?
Yeah. Well, that's why I ended that with you have my commitment to call me out if I'm not doing it. I'm committed to it. It's not just something I'm saying. I'm committed to making that happen. And if I forget, I'm not perfect. I might forget. Again, call me out because I want to grow and get better for you and for us.
But you're a man. Like you should lead.
Absolutely.
Why do I have to remind you?
Yeah. Well, we're not perfect. I'm going to lead. That's why I set that intention of what's going to happen right now by putting it away because I value you. But again, if I mess up, I just want you to know I'm not going to claim to be perfect because setting expectations is a mark of a great communicator. So if our communication is lacking, it's probably because we have no expectations. So if you can expect that I'm going to try 100%, but if I fail, you're right there to be my rock and call me out and help me grow. I think that's what makes a beautiful team.
Yeah. Yeah. It does make a beautiful team.
Yeah. So Thursday at 6, where'd you like to go?
I mean, aren't you going to pick?
Yeah. Let's do it. All right, we're going to
I mean, do I got to make all the decisions?
I know, right?
I mean, come on, man. Like, that was really good. I appreciated that because what you did was I truly felt heard. So you validated what I was saying.
Yeah.
And then you came through, and a lot of times, like, I think as men, we just always want to find a solution.
Yeah.
But if we don't feel, if our ladies or whatever doesn't feel heard or understood, you can come up with a solution, but they're never going to move from that place that they're at because they don't know that. Like if I'm just like, oh, okay, we'll go out, but are you actually hearing what the issue is? Right.
And it's the same way in everything, sales, relationships. You know what the solution is because you know the problem, which is why they booked a sales call, which is why she's saying you're on your laptop. But if you say, okay, laptop done, the issue is not solved. People need to be heard. They need to feel seen. They need to feel acknowledged. And you never want to assume. An assumption is the mark of a lazy communicator. So even if I know right away, I knew.
Assumption is the mark of a lazy communicator.
Yeah. And so even if I know right away, you told me you're on your laptop. And so I asked you like, well, when you say that, what do you mean? What do you mean specifically? I don't want to assume. And so one of the most powerful language patterns you can use is when you say X, what do you mean by that? Most people say, so what you're saying is this. And oftentimes, no, I'm not saying it. And so what I like to do is repeat back. So Garin, what I'm hearing you say is this. Is that correct? So what I'm hearing, not what you're saying. Notice how one is associated with what I'm hearing versus what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because people get defensive. No, I'm not saying that. But if I put on me, so what I'm hearing you say is this, is that correct? And those small distinctions can make a huge difference.
So then where do you go after let's say, yeah, you said that right, but yet that doesn't bridge the gap, right? Like the outcome being created, or if we're on a sales call and you're working to create the outcome to sell.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
So you have to find out what that person values. What do they value? And so if you're having a one-to-one conversation, you're going to know based on the questions that you ask. But like when I speak to multiple people, one-to-many, you have to almost assume their outcome or assume their desire based on knowing that audience. based on knowing who they are. Why are they in the room? Well, they're looking to develop their communication. For what reason? Do they lack confidence? They want to close more deals? Whatever the case is, you're hitting on multiple different outcomes to kind of hit on everyone. And it's the same way with the listening styles. So a lot of people, they learn based on the why. Like, why am I going to listen to this? Like, what is this going to do for me? If they don't have a why, none of the what matters.
Yeah. So you got to anchor the why.
For some people. But if you don't know, or it's a podcast, you know who's listening, I'm hitting on all four. That's called the format. Next is going to be the what. Like, what is it? Some people don't care about the why. Just give me the details, and I'm going to assume, or I'll decide if it's worth it for me. Other people are the how. I don't want the why. I don't want the fluff. It's almost like if you were to think about like an engineer, or if you ever got furniture, some people don't read the instructions. They just go straight. Just let me do it. Let me get my hands dirty. The how people. Yeah. So just, it's fascinating.
I'm more of a how person.
Yeah. To understand human behavior. Just people are so drastically different.
People are so how do you, okay. So people are so drastically different.
Yeah.
But yet you may be on multiple different sales calls. And every single person that you talk to, it may be a little bit different, right? So how do you understand quickly or identify quickly what people's triggers are, how to associate, what strategy to use with which person?
Yeah, so I think number one is that when most people give you an answer, it's going to be filler. I automatically assume that. Hey, Garin, how's your day? Oh, it's good. Hey, what's your podcast about? Oh man, it's the Gynergy Effect because here's what we do and here's what it is. Okay, cool. And where does that lead to usually in your conversations? Then you think for a second, well, man, we talk about life and business and all the stuff that's important to them. Okay, with your guests, like what's usually the most common thing that you guys talk about? You know, we talk about really, it leads to family and like their struggles. Got it. And do you like hearing more about like the family or the struggles? What do you kind of dive deeper into? Oh, the struggles, man. Adversity is everything. Cool. Now I just found out what your value was or what is a desire for you based on layering of questions. So never leave it at that first question, always go deeper. And again, what I'm hearing you say is this, is that correct? Or sometimes if like my girlfriend was venting to me, I'll say, hey, I hear you. Is there anything else at all? This is an open time where I want you to share. So it's the depth is where the beauty is. This is very different than I usually talk about, by the way. It's the same communication, but this is more like our internal stuff. It's not about business. So
yeah, no, I love it. This is really good.
Yeah.
So let's have some fun.
Yeah.
You say you can read people in real time. Read me right now. What do you see?
Yeah. Well, you have very strong eye contact. You're extremely present. You're not trying to be someone who you're not. And also in that introduction, there are people that use NLP and these tactics as these forms of like mind reading and FBI negotiations. That's none of the stuff that I do. It's understanding human behavior. So the reading people, there's no magic. It's not like it's some crazy mind trick. It's really just understanding a few things: physiology, words, and tone, to take it back to communication. And so with you, you're someone who desires to truly know. You're not just asking a question because it's on your computer. You actually want to know the answer. And if you don't get the answer, you're not just going to move on to the next question. You're going to ask deeper.
True.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
and so that's cool. But what that shows me is that number one, you truly care either about me, your guest, or the person listening. You want to give them a good experience. And you have a curious growth mindset where you truly want to grow from it as well. So that's a few things I'm getting just from this interaction.
The power, if you weren't sitting in the seat, but the power of you being able to express that to me and feeling seen in that way, like what does that create in your interactions with people?
Man, well, it has to be genuine. You don't want to manufacture that and try to make someone feel, oh yeah, how do you feel, Garin? So tell me how you feel. Yeah. Almost like a fake therapist. But it's, again, that true, genuine desire to care about that person. But it's everything, dude. Relationships end because people don't feel heard, loved, seen, acknowledged, cared about, whatever.
Yeah, so true.
People leave companies not because the pay, oftentimes they don't feel a connection. Connection is usually lack of communication. Sales are not made because of that. So again, it's everything. Your ability to understand that other human, it determines everything. And I think about this in the context of like making money or on a stage speaking. If I truly understand the person in my audience, I now know what to sell to them. And like there are times where this happened last night where I had an offer created because we put an offer together for this audience. And as we're wrapping up the last 5 minutes and the host of it that I spoke on his mastermind for, he's talking, I went back to my slide and changed the offer. based on what the people were curious about, based on what they were learning.
Yeah.
And I did it in a way because I wanted to truly deliver something that was valuable to them. And we had a good amount of people that bought from it. So it's the money you make, it's the relationships you have, but your ability to communicate is only as good as your ability to understand who you're communicating to.
Yeah, what I also hear you saying is a big part of it is knowing the right questions to ask. Like the power of knowing the right questions to ask.
Right.
And how do you develop out that skill set?
Yeah.
Is there like a structure?
Yeah, I would say what I do oftentimes is more frameworks than like a structure. But even at that, there's a lot of flow to it. And I never want to get too rigid where I'm following something and I can't be present again, because it's almost just like a fight. I don't know if it was Mike Tyson says that everyone knows what to do until you get punched in the face.
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
That's it. So
that's a different thing.
Yeah, if I'm saying, and this happens a lot on podcasts too, where someone will like interrupt the other person, not being rude, but they'll say something, the entire conversation drifts differently.
Yeah.
And so one of the best elements of communication is knowing when to shut the hell up. And so usually what I do is anytime someone talks over me in a context like this, I just stop. On a sales call, I just stop. People want to get their point across, but in sales, them talking is going to give you all the data you need to close them. Or on a podcast, we don't need to overtalk. I'm just going to stop. Whatever you say is where I'm going to be able to take it. And that's that presence again. So there's no script I want to give anyone on how to do it. It's the idea of being grounded in your body, being present enough to care about your fiance, your wife, your people on your sales team, the person that you're leading, a guest on a podcast. When you are present, that's where the magic is, because you can't focus on, like you just said, the future or the past. You're missing the moment of now. And the future is created by what happens now. The past created what happened now before that past ever happened. So it's always right now, everything. The moment of now is where your life begins to change.
The moment of now is where your life begins to change.
Sounds cheesy, but it's true.
No, man, the moment of now is where, because when we tie our identity, we can't control what happened in the past.
Right.
We can't control what happened in the future. But if we're here, present now, it's like what they say about planting a tree. Best time was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now.
Yeah.
And we can shift our identity at any moment when we make that commitment to.
You said something that's important, which is identity. And man, so in psychology and NLP, there's something called the imprint period. From the time that you're born till about 7 years old, your beliefs, your behaviors, your values, your identity is being formed at the subconscious level. And so we hear stuff like money doesn't grow on trees. So you have to work very hard for your money. My mom would always tell me that. My first job was at In-N-Out. You got to be the hardest worker in the room. You have to work hard for your money. You need to work very hard. And these are great things that she instilled in me. Incredible things. I had a good work ethic. But I didn't understand you can also work smart for your money. So when I became a trainer of NLP and I started to teach people make a few $1,000s in a day, I felt a huge sense of unworthiness. Not because the material that I was teaching wasn't good enough, but I was not working hard for that money. I still don't work hard for my money. Doesn't mean I'm not a hard worker. I work very smart for the money that I make. And so now our identity that's been formed from childhood beliefs carries out into our adult life, and that puts a ceiling on people. And I had to work through that subconsciously of like, why do I feel like I just took advantage of someone that's charging me a few $1,000s, even when they were so happy with the service? They got a ton of value. Nothing to do with them. It's all me. And our identity shapes everything. The way that I view the world is going to determine how I speak, how I show up, the opportunity that comes into my way, or the lack thereof. That's stuff I love talking about.
No, it's so powerful because we at times will move ourselves up to a certain point, and then because our identity hasn't shifted to that point, we'll self-sabotage.
Right.
To bring ourselves back to a more comfortable place.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you were just talking about when you were saying that. It's like understanding to shift our identity along with our success and the value that we're creating. To get back to frame control, because you mentioned that briefly, I want to dive into a little bit of the strategy.
Yeah.
You teach people to control the frame of a conversation. For someone who has no idea what that means, explain it like I'm 12, and then give me an example I can use tomorrow.
Yeah, good question. And I love the tangibleness at the very end of it. So knowing the outcome, and there's a technique in NLP called the double bind. And you've probably heard this used, and it started with fast food. So if you've ever noticed you're at a drive-thru and they say, do you want a medium or a large fry? What are they doing?
They're not giving you an opportunity to say no. They're giving you a medium or a large.
Right.
Like,
yeah, because our subconscious mind is always going to take that path of least resistance, and it's a lot harder to think about it. You're almost in a trance. You're just medium, without even thinking about it. And so it's called a double bind, and what it's doing. It's a presupposition. I'm presupposing the thing that I want you to think, directional based. So this or that. Not, hey, do you want my service, Garin? Do you want package A or package B? Because now you're just going to lead, and you're going to follow my lead. And in sales, what you want to do, give the person the next logical step. But how do you know which step to give them? It's based on the direction that you want to take them. So sometimes at the very beginning of a call, I might just be trying to open up their mind to this actually could work for you, because I know they're going to have resistance towards, I don't know if your service is going to work. Most people try to sell them right away, or their mind is on the close. I'm on the emotion that I want them to feel. That's how that's the frame control. I'm controlling the frame on where we go. Or a lot of times what people struggle with is that the other person's going to overtalk, or they just go on a tangent. And so being able to grab what that person said, it's called laterally chunking. If you're talking too long, I'm going to use a word you said. Hey, Garin, I love that you said that. Did you mean this? Yeah, I did. Okay, that's really cool. So about this thing that we're talking about now. And so I'm not just cutting you off being rude. I'm laterally chunking you into that direction, which is a form of frame control.
It's an art form.
Right. Very much so an art form, and that's why I say it's not just about the scripts or the structure. That's the science. What NLP does is it blends the science and the art. Science is stiff. It's rigid. If you get messed up, I saw someone speak one time who had a bunch of slides that were going off of. The slides went down or something happened for 15 minutes. The whole presentation stopped because it was a science that he was following. It was a keynote. There was no art that went into it. He couldn't flow with it. Your flow is everything. Your flow is real. You can get ChatGPT to give you the science of anything, and now you just sound like a regurgitated social media person.
I feel like that is becoming more and more important. I've noticed that over the past few years. Once I saw the emergence of AI, and I dive into AI. I'm building a platform through AI and everything else. Nice. Like I'm a student of it, but I also understand this very clearly. The value of that interaction, person-to-person interaction, and understanding how to communicate very clearly in the right way becomes more and more valuable the more that the science is taken care of by AI. Because it doesn't matter how smart we are or how much depth we have in one subject. Nobody's going to have more depth than what I can right now go and look up in my computer
in 10 seconds.
Right. And so the value then becomes connection, community, communication.
3 C's.
Yeah.
It's everything. People are yearning for it right now. You're seeing it. People want, and why do we want connection though? Going back to human behavior, why do we care to be in a community? It's a sense of belonging. It's a sense of purpose. It's a sense of feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling validated. And like, we all need it, dude. We all need it. Even the people at the very top of a business, half the reason why they probably got that success is because their need for validation, their need to be seen, their need to seem like the man. And that's what drove them. So it's important to know what's the origination point of your beliefs, of your values, of your identity. And like, so when I work with couples, a lot of times I'll just figure out, I'll have them talk. So like, tell me, like, how are you guys doing? And I'll figure out how they're showing up. And very quickly I can figure out what that little seed was that's now producing the harvest in their life. We're always planting seeds, and it's always going to produce a harvest. But is it a harvest of weeds or a harvest of fruit? It's determined based on that seed. And that's subconscious, which is the scary part.
The subconscious is what plants the seeds that dictates what harvest that we yield, that creates the outcomes for our lives.
I used to be very snappy with my tone, and looking back, my mother was the same way.
My dad was extraordinarily snappy. And I do see that with myself as well. You know, I grew up just me and my father. And like, there was a lot of stress in his life. And so I think bore the brunt of a lot of that. And so now I see that at times showing up, you know, from that trauma regurgitating through me. And I become very aware of it, but I can also see that, you know, it's an issue for me that I desire to get better at. So for me, or somebody that get snappy at times. Maybe when they're in high stress or they have a lot going on or they're just frustrated. What's the best way for them? Because I'm big on breath work, but what's the best way for them to take that moment and in that split second shift from being what you talked about, and you obviously have done a good job of that, being snappy, to communicating in a way that lends itself to creating the outcome that you desire?
Yeah. So there's two things. The second one's way better than the first one.
Okay.
First one is making that split second, the extra long split second, the power in the pause. And especially when communicating, this is something that I teach so deeply, is your ability to pause. It lets other people digest what you just said. Think about it, like if you're at church, someone says something great and the whole congregation's clapping, he starts talking. What does the congregation do? They stop clapping. And now no longer are they digesting what was just said. They're focused on what's being said next. So in that same way in communication, when you have that pause in between to allow yourself that brief moment to think, that's where you actually can be present with it versus letting whatever's in your brain flow out. But you're present to, how do I want to respond? How do I want to show up? This is the same if you're answering a question when you do sales with your leadership team, sitting there and just like actually thinking about it, asking to know more. And the second one, I do this all the time, is I just whisper Jesus under my breath. If my girlfriend or someone's saying something that's triggering me, Jesus. And it's just that brief anchoring, God, your words, not mine, please. More of you and less of me, because I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to mess it up.
That's powerful. I went through this time in my life where I'd just be in the shower and randomly I'd be like, I fucking hate my life. And it would just come out of me, like, and I would feel this like venom inside of me.
Yeah.
And so how I trained myself different was every time I said that, then I would follow up with forcing myself to say, I love my life, the opposite of it, 10 times. So I would say that once and I'd be like, I love my life, 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 I love my life.
Yeah.
And I would do that, and now I don't ever say that. Like, I've had to really train myself when I see a thought or have something come in, to be present, pause for that moment, or if it does come out, to like set a different tone, to like put that deeper inside of me. Yeah. I don't know how that relates to what your training is or how that works. What would that be?
I have a question on that, actually. Do those thoughts still come up ever?
Not the way that they used to.
Do they still come up at all?
I would say, I mean, at times, yeah.
At times, okay. Yeah. And is it like a problem, or is it a struggle at all, or is it?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not like it was. I had to really train myself to speak to myself in a much different way.
Okay.
And so that intention, I think, has set the tone for it.
Yeah.
And now I'm much more aware of it. But that was a long process, for it. But it's something I'm aware of constantly.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
It was like 5 years ago.
Okay. There's like a lot going on in life.
3 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was running a company with 100 employees, managing them all through COVID. And then my grandma was like my mom growing up. She died, and then went through a divorce with my ex-wife, and she was my business partner. And then 3 months later, my dad raised me. He was my hero growing up. He dies. And so there was all this stuff going on. But even before, like, I just wasn't, like, I had everything. Like, I was running a $40 million company and started it from nothing. And like, I had built all this success, but I was miserable. And I felt I had no ability to breathe. Like, it was just everywhere, Right. And so it had a huge impact on me. And that's a big part of why I'm here now doing what I'm doing, is because I have that desire to help other people. Like, I had to go through this really deep, because it almost cost me my life. And so I chose to go through this really deep dive into who I am as a human being, and my why and purpose, and driven towards helping other people not have to feel so isolated and alone. And that's why now it's about feeding into leaders to be able to go and be better and really for themselves first.
Yeah. You said something that's so important. You chose to go through that. Everything in life is a choice.
That's right.
And so, like, with this work of NLP, when I'm coaching someone or just when I'm talking to someone, and even in language, I listen to it. One of the first and biggest things I'm listening to, are they at cause or are they at effect? Cause is, this happened for me.
Yeah.
Cause is I chose to go through this. I went through this for a reason. Effect is circumstance.
Right.
This happened to me. And that's why I asked you what was going on at that time in your life. And some people, oh, my business partner wronged me, and then this happened to me, and this happened. It's all external. And we can't control what happens externally. So one of the biggest things that I'm doing, and someone can take this technique as well, I try to get someone from effect to cause. And when you asked me earlier about how do I initially go into something, and it's that belief that it's possible. If you believe that it's possible, we can start our work. If you don't believe that you can become a great communicator, I can't do any work with you. I don't care who you are. I'm not going to want to take the time to sit there and convince you that it's possible. Can it happen? Sure. But a lot of people have it, and it's victim mentality. And it's the saddest thing because it's not them. It's subconsciously their mind. Well, of course this happened. Or back when I was super shy, I would go mess up a conversation. Oh, that's just because I'm shy. And now it's confirmation bias reaffirming our belief, our thought, and that's what creates the identity. So a question that I'd have for anyone listening to this, what have you been repeating over and over? What story of your life is playing like an old record player that you just need to like scratch, interrupt that pattern, scratch that story so it skips over it, and choose to create a new story. Because anything that you've ever learned, you can unlearn. Neuroplasticity shows that anything that you ever learned, you can unlearn. And all the beliefs you have, you chose to believe those beliefs. No one chose them for you. The way that you view relationships right now, Garin, the way that you view business, you chose to believe that. And a lot of people, why didn't you choose this? Maybe not consciously, but you made a subconscious decision or an agreement to continue to believe this thing. And a way that if you're questioning, well, how is that possible? If it wasn't you that chose it, who else did? No one else chose for you to believe this. And if you say, well, that's just how it's created, you're at effect. God created me to be shy, to be embarrassed, to not have a girlfriend for 18 years of my life when all my friends in high school did, so that now I can value communication and help unlock other men and women. And that's being at cause instead of at effect.
Yeah. Everything that's happening is happening for you.
Right.
Not to you.
Yeah. In the Bible, it says God works all things out for good. God works all things out for good for those that love him and are called according to his purpose. And it's that 4 verses 2. He's working things out. And even in your life right now, you've had so much success. You have a beautiful place. You have a beautiful fiance or wife. You have a beautiful house. The fact that you're doing this, and it's like this happened for you. It's happening for you, but also your work is not just for you. It's for the people you can impact. And I say that to you specifically because you're not on here to talk about how great you are. You're not on here to sit here and sell your coaching. You're here to connect. You're here to help influence. You're here to ask questions. I can tell by your direction, you want people to get value from it. You want people to be able to have their life changed. I even heard it on your thing with Andrew.
Yeah. What's
something tangible? Summarize that. I want to make sure people do it. And so God has a very unique gift that he's put inside of you because you have a hurting heart for the hurting people, because that's probably what you've went through. So now he's using you to help unlock so many lives, bro. And it's very clear to see. And I honor you for that.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
You have a hurting heart for the hurting people. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Our big mission in 10 years, by 2035, 1,000 homes built in these different countries. We go down to Mexico, 100 learning centers for kids, teaching them like breath work, maybe NLP, different skill sets.
Yeah.
And then 1 million lives impacted. That's the mission. So everything else, just build backwards from there.
Yeah. So with all the stuff that you're doing, like, what do you struggle with? What does Garin truly struggle with when the cameras are off and it's you at 11 o'clock at night in your bed thinking about what's next, whether it's alone or whether it's with Yessie? Like, what are the struggles that you currently go through?
I think, honestly, currently is my struggle is I have such a big vision, and sometimes I can see it all clearly.
Yeah.
But because it's like, I look at it like I have all these balls that I'm moving forward, and I have to keep them all moving so that they all kind of end at the same place, or they unlock, because they all fulfill the picture. At times, though, with the resources and, you know, the amount of energy that each one really takes to become the absolute best, you know, in the way that I desire to become, in those individual things, they can pull from each other and they compete from one another. And there's a trap that you can get into, or that I can get into, of not getting the depth and the intention around an individual lane or aspect of that.
Can I ask a question on that? Is it a relationship?
It shifts, and that's our whole thing is, right? It's our whole teaching of level 5 life is being very clear and understanding what you desire, your highest self, what that vision of your perfect day of your life, and then working backwards and deconstructing it and reverse engineering it, right? And so then putting intention around it. Where I have trouble sometimes is I become so focused on one part that I become out of alignment in another.
Yeah.
And I noticed that because I've been diving into AI deeply and building. But my biggest, and I would say your biggest skill set is connecting with people and spending that time and energy being present and working on that skill set of communication, of these practices. Because I like to teach these different elements that I've went through that have helped me.
Yeah.
But I felt like this last year, I've been more focused on on building this infrastructure than connecting and being in my top right corner. And I think sometimes I miss that. And so it's been a little bit challenging because I've fed into people and I've fed into what I'm building. I have sometimes some issues with clearly communicating why it matters for somebody to be a part. So like level 5 life, for instance, right? It's a mastermind for, high like leader men that are leaders that, desire to create the best version of themselves, that desire to live with intention, also giving back and service as a part of their life.
Yeah.
And wants to take this journey with other men with that. So it's like, instead of one-on-one coaching with everybody, I'm doing that same principle infrastructure of coaching, but able to do it with more people and then have people that are taking that journey with other men that can all hold each other accountable. So like it creates an amplified impact.
Yeah.
So then it becomes, okay, shifting from like building to then sales to, because I don't like to, sometimes I don't like to feel like I'm really selling people. It's like, hey, if it resonates with you, then that's great and attract. Like I'm more like, I'm gonna attract.
Yeah.
But when you're first really driving to get, the word out, you really have to beat that drum and be that biggest advocate of it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's understanding, and that's why what you do is so interesting to me as well. It's understanding the nuances, and I used to own a real estate company, and I grew up with nothing. By the time I was 23, I was a self-made millionaire, had built like a really incredible business foundation. I had a 10,000 square foot house on the lake, 8-car garage, like
nice.
From nothing to everything I could desire. And then I got in a motorcycle accident and almost died. And I've been through like these high highs and low lows and high highs. And I think the sales aspect of things for me, I just would rather have someone drawn to it than feel like I have to like.
We all would.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd all rather have someone drawn to it. So, I think so. What I'm hearing, there's a few things. Number one, when you were explaining what you do, you said leader twice, almost back to back. And so in that clarity in your communication, it's going to attract more of the right kind of people so that you have to sell less. So could be some clarity improvements there. But number two, and this is the same with most people hate selling because they feel like selling is taking. I'm asking, I'm taking. But the root word of sell is serge, which is like a Norwegian or a Latin word to serve. And like when you realize that you're truly serving someone by selling them, but it sounds easier said than done because it is. Now, this is your communication. This is the soft skills here. A lot of people think about the identity. What's the identity of a salesperson? Used car salesperson, gold chain, hard closing. But when your identity can shift into I sell hard based on soft communication skills, and it's simply understanding that person. Because if I understand you again, I know how to position my language in a way that resonates with you. And it's not, if you don't want to buy it, you are not going to buy it, no matter what. So you're not forcing someone to do something, but you're making it the most attractive so that you're the most likely to sign on the person that needs it best. And that's why selling is there's such a responsibility with it, because when you're good with your words, you can use them for good or for bad. And I've met people, especially in the NLP world, that use it for manipulation. They use it to try to get people to do outcomes or to stay in their community or to buy something. And I can hear it right away. And it's just like, bro, there's not going to be a blessing on whatever you do when you're using it for the wrong intention.
Yeah.
But if you truly care, you truly get to know someone, and then you learn how to craft your words in a way that's going to resonate with that person, they're more likely to do the thing that you want them to do instead of you trying to go through a back door and hard close them into it. So the biggest shift there is if you see what you do, if you really believe level 5 life is the way for these men to come in here and get the things they need to, obviously it's a disservice not to sell them, but now we need to do it in a way that's soft spoken, in a way that makes them feel heard and says, well, hey, this is actually what it's going to offer you. But most people want to pitch and sell. Here's what I do. I do the role playing training. I do this coaching. Versus like, well, Garin, what's your biggest struggle?
Do for you? Yeah. That's like the outcome that you're going to create.
Yeah.
No, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, and you don't know that unless you ask or unless you listen.
Yeah. So understanding, asking, and listening is the most important part of sales.
100%.
And being present. Not listening to respond, but listening to understand.
Yeah.
And understanding that if you are selling, that what you do, if you truly believe in it, if they're not going to do it, you're doing them a disservice by not bringing your best in that environment. And so they may need it even more than you even realize that they need it, especially
for sure
in what I'm doing, because you don't know what somebody's doing with.
Right.
And when I hold back and I hesitate, if I do hold back and I hesitate, then I am pulling the opportunity for them to really, if I truly believe I'm helping men, leaders, feed into themselves and live their highest self and understand that version of them and build a framework that can actually work to create that outcome for them. And I'm not pressing that, then who am I?
Why even do it? You don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Because if you believe you had the cure for cancer, you'd be doing everything you can to sell it.
Right.
So you don't believe in it enough, which I know is not the case for you, but that's a radical mindset that you want to shift into so you can start stepping up and being that person. And it's almost like if you're speaking on a stage and you're like, I don't want to be overly salesy and I don't want to like convince anyone, but here's what I do. You're not going to sell to people.
I'm not going to sell to people.
You have to quote unquote sell hard, but again, it's by the soft skills that you develop.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it's like, dude, your sales calls become effortless. Your opportunities to speak on things like this become effortless because your words are creating everything. And it's the beliefs that drive those words.
I mean, that's what drew me to you. Like I pay a lot of attention to the intentionality that people have with their words, their vocabulary and how they speak and present themselves and communicate. And by far, like you are an incredible communicator.
Thank you.
Like it's become very aware. Like I'm very aware of, like I study your communication once I once I understood what you do and everything else, like I'm paying attention to every single word that you say.
Yeah.
Every one of them has been very intentional. And it's not that you're, like you said, it's not that you're selling or trying to, manipulate or anything like that. It's you're a student of the game for your art form, which is communication.
Right.
And why would you not want to be great at that? Just like if you play basketball, do you want to go out there and shoot bricks all day? Or do you want to work on the skill set so you can be a great player?
Right.
And it's that way in any aspect. So if somebody is going to start doing work, and let's say, and we'll talk about what that looks like to coach with you, but if they're going to start doing some stuff on their own, what's like, because, there's a study, if you do something 15 minutes a day, for a year, you're going to be in the 90 percentile. What can somebody do for 15 minutes a day?
Love it. Yeah. Number one, record a video. Hey, what's up? This is Kody. I'm on a podcast right now. I'm talking about some deep stuff with NLP, mindset, sales, psychology. This is an episode you guys all want to listen to, right? As an example.
Did you just record it?
No, I didn't. I just
record it right now. Let's go.
I'll use that as an example. That was it, because I want to teach this lesson.
Yeah.
But number one, it's the power of brevity. If you can say something in one sentence, don't use a paragraph to say it. And this is something a lot of people struggle with. So I believe
like that's me. Yeah.
I believe that when people say, when they honor communication like you did, which I appreciate, it's not because I'm saying all the right words. It's every word, quote unquote, hits or is potent. I'm not adding the filler into it. which is why very rarely are you going to hear me use the words like, right. A lot of people use that. There's a chance I might have said it maybe once on this podcast, if at all. And it's intentionality of not doing that. And that again comes from the pause. So number one, the point is brevity. If you can say something in a few words, don't add in the extra filler. Don't say at the end, does that make sense? Because now you're second guessing yourself, justifying what you just said. And then number two, record a video of yourself talking, identify how many ums, how many ahs, how many likes, how much shaky voice did you have, and do that every day for 30 days and watch how much your communication is going to change. And dude, it's talked about public speaking is the biggest fear amongst humans, even more than dying. Public speaking. And I was the same way because everyone's looking at you. But if you had that skill, how much more impact are you going to be able to make to be able to have those 1,000 homes? If you can share that message, and I believe it's Habakkuk, it says, write your vision plain on tablets so other people can run with them. And when you can share your vision, your team is bought in. When you can share that vision with Yessi on, this is why I'm working so much. And you said something earlier, you're like, yeah, I have a hard time explaining the why, because you're like, dude, let's execute, let's get it done. You should see the value, bro, come on. We have all this stuff going. But now being able to put yourself truly in their perspective, it'll make all the difference with your ability to speak to people and to help them get to the outcome you want them to get to.
So you said put yourself in other people's perspective.
Yeah.
And that's the key to be able to drive the outcome to where you desire. Because when you're speaking, if I'm hearing you correctly, when you're speaking from a perspective of where they are, where you're meeting with them where they are right now, then you can better communicate in a way that lands with them and they then understand.
Yeah, and it's the first NLP concept or presupposition called to understand that person's model of the world. And you may have heard Tony Robbins say this, understand and appreciate their model of the world. So not just walk in their shoes for a day, but truly, I know the questions that you're asking me, I know that they're driven from questions that you have internally as well.
Yeah.
Then I got to identify the questions that you have internally for some other purpose. Are they for yourself? Are they because you want someone listening to know? You want to share this with someone? Like whatever it is, everything is being driven by our motives. And that's a human behavior element. So to truly understand and appreciate, it's like putting on their hat. You put on their hat, what beliefs have you now put on? How do you view the world? If I know that you view the world as being a very mean, nasty place where people are out to get you, we're going to have a different conversation than if you view it like there's so much opportunity and abundance. And that's the rewiring of your subconscious belief. So if you're getting 15 people like that hike you did, the first thing I want to do is I don't just want to know your story. I want to know, how do you think about the world? Because then I know how to help you. Then you know what to do, because you might have curriculum or program that you want to help instill in people, but it might fall on deaf ears until you know where they're at, because each person might need something different. We can keep going so much deeper.
Bro, we could go for a long way. I have a little bit of a structure here, so I want to go through the structure. But I mean, we're just flowing through it, to be honest with you, pretty well.
And it's fun.
So serve by selling. Serve by selling. That's your business, your domain, your philosophy. We say master yourself to serve the world. On this show, those feel like the same conviction from different angles. When does selling stop feeling like taking and start feeling like service?
Yeah, it's what we were just talking about like 2 questions ago. When it really comes down to the point of, number one, your conviction in what you're doing, and number 2, your ability to actually do it. If you believe that you can sell and you can talk to people, you're going to do it a lot more than the person that doesn't. Kobe Bryant is a lot more inclined to go there and shoot his shots because he knows that they're going to go in. It's going to be more fun to him because he knows how to do it. If you're afraid of going to talk to someone you find attractive, you're not going to be doing that on a regular basis. But the person going on a ton of dates is because he knows he has the skill to communicate. So it all comes down to that skill. And I'm biased, of course, because I teach it, but I don't just teach it because I fell into communication and this is a great way to make money. If I just wanted to make money, I'd be teaching sales only. There's a lot more money and it's a lot more clear to define that ROI and the outcome. But you need to learn how to communicate with people so that it no longer feels like taking and you truly know that you're serving someone. And again, it's getting out of your own head, which takes a rewiring process, and there's systems for that, but That's what it is in a simple nutshell.
Yeah, and you're so good because you went on to this. Most people think selling and serving are opposites. You think they are the same thing. Make the case. Convince me right now. How is selling an act of service?
Yeah, good. Well, if I were to help you communicate better, how much different do you think your relationship's going to be in your home life?
It's probably going to improve.
Probably, or most likely going to improve?
It's most likely going to improve.
Okay. And if we're being honest, it's probably definitely going to improve, right?
It's going to improve.
Okay. So notice that chain I just walked you through. There's two sides of a river. One is not at all. One is 100%. So if you take someone who's not at all, sales, communication, you say, this is going to work for you. There's going to be rejection. They're going to reject that idea because you're consciously telling them. But if I walk them along a river of possibly, probably, maybe, most likely, whatever it is, you're more bought into it. That was a side note, but going back to it, what about your ability to sell your service? Do you think you're going to sell more or less after working with me just for even one session, much less the 12 weeks that we talked about?
I mean, more.
Okay. And so if you charge, let's just say it's $20,000, dude, my service is $15,000. So if I help you sell one of them, you've now made back your ROI and you own the skill for life. Everything you make addition to that is profit. That is how selling is service right there. I'm doing you a service. I'm giving you the skill.
You're giving me an additional tool in the belt that I carry with me.
Right.
Another piece of armor or a bow or an arrow that serves a specific purpose.
Yeah.
That's going to allow me, it's like the fisherman. Give a man a fish he eats for a day.
Right.
Teach a man how to fish he eats forever.
For life. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how selling is serving. And that's why it's a moral obligation to know that maybe you don't have a sales issue. Maybe you just don't have enough lead flow or whatever it is, and you're not the right person. So what makes me very powerful in sales is I don't sell to everyone. And I don't care. Even if I need that money to pay my rent, I'm not going to sell to everyone to make a sale happen. It's doing what is best for that person, as cliche as it sounds. That is how you serve by selling.
That's powerful. That's how you serve by selling. Man, all right. So, sell me on identity. You have 15 seconds. Pitch it like it's a product.
Identity. Okay, cool. So all the things that have happened into your life up until this point has been because of the way you think, believe, and feel. True or false?
It's true.
Okay. And so if you're able to think, believe, and feel differently in a more effective way for you, how much different of a life would you be living right now?
It would be more in alignment with what I desire it to be, yeah.
And what is that worth to you monetarily?
I mean, a better life is worth a lot.
And it's going to help you hit those visions that you have a lot clearer, right?
Probably will, yeah.
Okay. Probably will, or it for sure will having the identity.
For sure, walking me down the river.
That's the power of your identity right there, to hit those dreams that you have. Who cares about the money? I don't see one thing on there about money. There's not one thing on there about money. Your identity is going to help you get to that goal, or it's going to hurt you from getting there.
It's 100%. That's why being a student is so important.
Yeah.
Finding the right teachers.
It's everything, dude. And none of us are perfect. It's all the second that I think that I know enough about communication, my head's getting too big and now I can't learn anything else. Even on this podcast, I'm learning. I said, this is a very different podcast for me. We're not talking about the usual business stuff that I teach on. This is like real life applicable stuff that I believe people are going to get value from. So
yeah, I love it, man. This is really good. I think there's so much value being created here. So I want to acknowledge that and I'm very grateful, because when people listen, they're spending their time, and I have so much respect for people that I want their time to be valued. Yeah. Last one in this section.
People a lot.
I do. Who is Kody when nobody is watching? Not the coach, not the NLP expert, not the Instagram version. When the cameras are off, clients are gone, and it's just you. Yeah. Who's there?
I'll show you who I am. My name is Kody. I'm a man of love, joy, and presence, and I'm a bold prayer warrior. I'll pray with my brothers anytime, anywhere. That's who Kody is. I'm filled with love, joy, and presence. Do I always get it right? No. But my joy is not determined based on what happens to me. I get the joy from the Lord. There's a verse, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And that's why no matter what, I've been through really rough seasons, and I posted on social media for people to see, not for sympathy, but to break off any sort of ego that I have or any sort of image that I have of what I've went through. And so I share that because when I'm filled with joy, it doesn't matter what's happening in my life. We talked a lot about presence. That's something that I lack so deeply, which is why that is now an identity that I have, because I need to reground myself to that. So I'm present with who I am. I'm present with God. The love that I have only comes from the love that God has given me, because I was not a loving guy. I still have worked through a lot of that stuff, but that's who I am. I'm a normal, everyday person who I want to get better. And I want to remind myself to be a bold prayer warrior, to be filled with love, joy, and presence.
I want to just take a moment to acknowledge the fact that when I asked that question, you had a very specific vision and understanding of what that is for you. And that is the catalyst that drives everything. It sounds like your decisions are made from that. The way you show up is made from that. That is your core value. That is your mantra. That is the way that you live your life.
It's the identity, what you just said. That is who I am. That is my identity. That's why I have it on here. That's a power of identity right there. If you would ask that question, I could have just showed you that. That's the power of it. Every decision, every belief, every thought, every interaction that I have, when I would be snappy. A man of joy wouldn't do that, Kody. A man of love wouldn't do that. When my girlfriend's talking to me and I'm like, oh, wow, okay. She's like, you're on your phone, aren't you? When we're on the phone. That's not a man of presence. Oh. So everything needs to filter back to your identity. And so a good action item for everyone listening, what is your identity? Have you ever thought about it? You say, I'm a man, I'm a leader. Yeah, at the surface, but what is your true identity of who you are?
So we're going to go into this last as we start wrapping this up.
Okay. So
segment is rapid fire.
Okay.
And I got a final question for you too. So I'm going to put these out. You're going to give 15 to 30 seconds each. And we're just going to light this on fire right now.
Light it up, baby.
Let's bring the light into the world.
Torch it.
Biggest communication mistake people make in the first 10 seconds. Go.
Over talking, over explaining the point instead of just keeping it simple.
NLP, science, art, or superpower?
When done effectively, superpower. When done inefficiently, science. When done with grace, art.
Convince me to do something right now. Anything. I'll try and resist. Go.
I don't know. It's fake. I truly don't know. I can't sell you the pin if you don't need the pin. I don't know. But let me see that question that you have on there.
Says, convince me.
I don't care to see. I just convince you to show me your screen.
Oh, wow.
That was off the fly. I'm sorry.
Gangster, dog. Like, that was so good.
Oh my gosh, so cheesy. It worked though, so I guess.
Trying to figure out right now if I'm like gullible or if that was just so good. That shows the power of communication right there. Your best book on communication that isn't something that you've developed.
Man. I became a trainer of NLP. I went all the way down the rabbit hole of it. That is what's developed my communication more than anything. I don't know. There have not been a ton of books I've read on communication, to be very honest with you. Yeah. There's a book that I just got recommended. It's Get to the Point. I have not read it yet. It's in my Amazon cart, so maybe that's first of mine, but I don't know. For me, it was like actual studying.
Chris Voss or anything like that?
Yeah, like for sales stuff. I say in-person workshop is the absolute best way to learn versus sitting there reading a book.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
That's why there's millions of books and no one's life is really changed from reading a book, hardly ever. Get into a workshop.
Get into a workshop. What's the tell that someone is lying? One thing to watch for.
I don't know, man. That's not the kind of like decoding that I do is if they're lying. There's a few different beliefs. If they look up and to the left, they're trying to visually construct something versus looking up and to the right, they're visually remembering. But a few things is just, how are they explaining the situation? Is their voice shaky? But also they could just be nervous. So there's so much to it where I feel like a lot of these people, these gurus, they treat it like it's a science without the human element of knowing that person. And anything that I would say is a high level generalization without actually knowing the person. So the truest answer I can give you is I simply just don't know.
That's actually really good. The thing men need most right now that nobody's giving them.
Jesus, something that only they can get from being planted in the house of God, experiencing that love of God. We can make the millions. We can have every single thing that we need, learn how to communicate the best. If you don't have a relationship with God, none of it matters. None of it matters. That is it.
Worst communication advice that people still follow.
I think the loudest communicator in the room. Confidence comes from your ability to be loud and, hey, how are you guys? That's your desire to want to be seen. That's oftentimes rooted in an insecurity, which is then rooted in a belief of not being good enough, which is then coming from your parents not giving you love or attention. And so you don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't need to be the most obnoxious person in the room to get the attention. If you're looking for that stuff, and people teach that, is let everyone see you, be okay being seen. But you're doing a disservice to yourself, because it's almost like drinking alcohol and having confidence from that. Phony.
That's fired. Yeah, let's lean into the pauses. Sometimes it's better to have people lean in to listen to you than trying to get away from you.
Right.
Morning routine, non-negotiable.
To be very honest, bro, I believe in radical transparency. I don't have one. I read the Bible probably 5 days a week. Not perfect every day. I don't have a complete morning routine. I live right over the ocean. I love being by the ocean and driving. I would say I drive probably 5 days a week as well. Nowhere, just cruising with the windows down, music on. So for me, that gets me really in state, but I don't have a morning routine. I love cold plunging too. I don't have one right now at the moment, but that was probably the only routine I've ever had that I stayed consistent with, was cold plunging.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Can you NLP yourself? Do you use these tools on your own mind?
Yeah, for sure. This is one thing we didn't talk about too much. We hit on it briefly, but it's the internal dialogue going on in here. So being able to rewire your beliefs, your programming, and catch patterns, triggers, to be able to catch the subconscious is the biggest tool, but not everyone can do it who just studies NLP. It takes a deep level of mastery and desire, but 100%. Before anyone should learn NLP to help others, it's meant to be done on yourself first. And so when you can do that, dude, your life can change so quickly, because a lot of times what's happening is there's stuff in the shadows you have never recognized. So when you can recognize that, you start to have awareness to where you need to change. And again, that's the first step. So 100% you can and you should use it on yourself before you ever try to use it in a coaching capacity.
Yeah, if you can't do it with your own self, how can you help other people or utilize it with other people?
It's your fake.
Yeah. Is this your first podcast? How am I doing as an viewer? Read me one more time.
Yeah, definitely not my first podcast. Been one of the most fun podcasts I've done, where it feels just like we're having a conversation. I would say most are, again, designed because someone has a big business audience they want me to speak on, and they want me to be the expert in that field, which we're talking a lot about communication. But I feel like this is a deep level of human, if you will, where it's not just, hey, here's a skill to make more money. People want that stuff. So doing incredibly well. You're a great man, and I don't say that because we're on camera. I could care less if you cut that out. You're an incredible dude, and we didn't know each other that deeply before, but just seeing how you show up is everything. Your level of presence, and again, your caringness for it. So very good.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
It's a big shout out to you. So let's say all your life experiences, everything that you've done to this point, and tomorrow is the last day that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to go meet God and move on to that next step. What message or what ripple do you, Kody, desire to leave onto this world?
Nothing to do with business, actually, or with what I do, but it's the more transparent and raw and vulnerable you are. When you can show your scars, you give permission for other men to heal. And anyone that judges you based on that, any bit of your own image, ego, pride that you're trying to hold on to by not doing these things, you're not helping the world at all. And the more you can stand in that power of not caring what people think, from a true level of sharing who you are, your weird desires, your quirkiness, that is where true confidence is built. that is where the right people were. All the things that you want come from that. It's the realness. And the only way that I've found to do that is through Jesus and having fear of God only and not fear of man, and not in some typical only God can judge me, but really I'm not playing for an audience of people performing anymore. I want to just play for my Father in heaven, and that's it. When I hear well done, good and faithful servant, for me, that is going to be the testament of a beautiful life. And it's only going to come, I believe, at least for my purpose, from being very raw and real with people, which is why I shared when I'd have eviction notices on my door, or when this happened in my life that was not just at a surface level, hey, here's where I'm at. Or people would ask me like, Kody, how is life going? Oh, bro, it's great. I haven't paid rent this month yet, but it's incredible, bro. What? And I'm like, yeah, bro, my joy comes from the Lord. My joy is not circumstantial. I believe this life of having faith, and I know God's working things out for my good. So I walk like it. I step like it. So to put a bow on it, it's that real vulnerableness of who you are. When you can stand in that, you no longer care what anyone thinks. And that's when people get the best version of you.
That's how you show up as the best version of you. Speaking of the best version of you, last question.
Yeah.
I want you to close your eyes. Let's take a big, deep breath in. You're 5, 10 years from now. You're living that highest self, the best version of you, your ideal life. From the moment that you wake up to you go through your day, to who you're with, to where you are, the home you're in, to what your actions are, the impact that you create. Walk us through with that ideal, that best version, that heart of Kody. What does that day look like?
I could play you an 8-minute audio that would explain it perfectly, of my own voice sharing that. I created an audio and it talks about my ideal day, and I'll just give you a recap of it. I wake up in the morning and I go into the sauna and I'm reading the Bible, and I come back to my wife still being asleep. I kiss her on the forehead. My kids are sleeping in the other room. I make a coffee. I hop on a Bible study that I'm teaching. After that, I go into the man cave office that I built, where I let my friends come and co-work and be able to just show them a picture of possibility. I drive back home in my Lamborghini Huracan that's black with a red interior, black convertible top. It's an Evo 2022. And then after that, I come home and I eat dinner with my wife and kids, and I'm present, not working at all. And then at about 6 p.m., I go and I do an event where I'm teaching people the art of communication and how to sell ethically without needing to show up as someone that you're not, but just being present in conversation. I come home by 8 o'clock and spend the evening with my wife and kids and my dog by the fireplace. And there's a lot of extra details in it, but it's an 8-minute audio I made of myself speaking, and it's a day in my dream life. And it's worship music playing in the background, my favorite worship song. And it's playing in the background as I'm telling myself what my dream life is. And I listen to that often, and it almost puts me in tears every time I do, because I know it's possible. I know God can give me that. And it's not about the car or the house, which I love nice things like that. I do. I don't think people are bad for wanting nice things. But if I can use that to inspire other people, I can have a big, beautiful house or an environment like this to come and let people share their story and get the best out of them. Like, bro, that's God using us. Because I guarantee you, bro, it's a beautiful Submariner you have, but you can have the nicest Daytona on your wrist. You're going to be the same dude internally. The same dude internally. If you go out and speak to 100 people, but you come home and your marriage is in chaos, what good of a man are we? And so that true presence of just being, and I believe, at least what I found, is it only comes from Jesus, is knowing that we need to have him present to get all of the dreams. Because I could be living in a shack. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I promise you, I'm still going to be a man of joy. When my car got repossessed, I walked home smiling, because I'm a man of joy regardless of what happens. And so our ability to know that, like, he's truly with us. He has a plan to prosper us and not to harm us. And prospering is not just in money, but it's in our relationships, in our love, and our peace. That's everything, bro. I think so many of us are searching for the money, the car, the watch, the business, but what we really want is peace. If you had peace, you wouldn't need the things. You lack nothing. And so that internal peace is just what I really desire. Doesn't mean that I don't desire chaos. I want chaos at a capacity, because that's going to create growth. But the peace is everything, bro. And I pray nothing more than for you to have peace in your home life, peace in your business, effortless flow to accomplishing those things, because that's truly where God can let his work happen. And it says in the Bible that he gives us peace that surpasses or transcends all understanding, where it might not make sense when your car is getting repossessed to have peace. When your business is crumbling. Talked to a buddy this morning and he had a sales manager, 2 setters, and 3 salespeople that he wanted me to go and train last month. They are all gone a month later. It does not make sense to have peace in those circumstances, but peace is not based on what happened to you. It's based on who you look up to and based on who is guiding your life.
This is a lot of wisdom that you just shared.
None of it's from me. That's all from, none of it is from me. If it was from me, I would talk about the business stuff and more deeply into what I desire in my home and the car and all that stuff. That's only God working. I have to just be honest about that. It's not from me.
The intention that you live your life with, I draw this rock that we all have, right? And we're on there. And part of that rock is our core values, our beliefs, our identity, all these different aspects that truly, and then I draw roots, like how rooted into that faith, into our purpose, our why, into our value system are we? Because at times it's calm, and then at other times, when your car is repossessed or you don't have money to pay rent or there's a storm that's coming through, there's a loss in the family. How are you showing up in that time? And when you are rooted deeply, you can show up in faith and in that smile on your face and know that your identity is not tied to these things.
Right.
And with God and with everything, all things will be okay.
Yeah.
And you spoke about that incredibly powerfully. And I know everybody that's listening is going to get a lot of value. And so I'm very grateful for our time together. The value that you created for me personally and for everybody else on here. You truly are somebody that's a light that shine on the world. And I think some people lead through their voice. Some people lead through their actions, and some people have the ability to lead with both. And when you can lead with both, that is how you truly connect and change.
It's good.
And you continue down that pathway that regardless of what I say, I know that you're on, but it's very, very obvious of the impact that you're creating and the ability that you have to create that impact.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I receive it.
So if you're interested or look up Kody, where can people find you?
Easiest way is Instagram. Kody G, KODYG.NLP. Taught a communication workshop last month. I have another one coming up on NLP this month. So got a lot of different stuff coming, but stay up to date with Instagram and you'll see what I'm putting out.
KodyG.NLP. Yeah, you know me. Let's go, baby.
1, 2, 3.
From the 253.
Oh, okay. That's Seattle?
Yeah, it's to Olympia. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope you found value. If you did, please like, follow, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. But get the word out. We're creating a ripple effect. We're going to create gratitude. We're going to create impact. And let's all achieve what our mission and our vision of life is. And today was a great example of how to do that. I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Thank you for being with us.
Peace.
Peace.
If this episode spoke to your soul,
share it with someone you love and tag us at the Gynergy Effect. We'd love to connect.
And remember, your energy is your power. Use it with intention.